New book out?
Excited.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Vegas concierge. Sex trafficking, hip hop, and corruption in America. The guys were just so crazy, and they wanted the extreme. They would pay tens of thousands of dollars to have baby oil, slip and slides.
What? You meet Pimp, y'all end up hitting it off though. Like, how do y'all end up hitting it off the way
Chad was the shit. He was just the shit. He was the shit. Chad was everything. Even if I was down and out and doing something risky, out of pocket, insecure, looking down, he's gonna make me look up. He's gonna make me put my chin up, my tits out, and speak from the heart.
Subscribe to the Donnie Houston Podcast, man.
Hi, I'm Angela Williams, and this is Vegas Concierge, Sex Trafficking, Hip Hop, and Corruption in America. And you're watching Donnie Houston.
Yeah, it's going down, man. It's Donnie Houston Podcast. I am Donnie Houston. Check it out, man. We got a special guest, man. This is one of my interesting friends. She's a good friend of mine. There's a brand new book out called Vegas Concierge, which dives into her life as a lady of the night, if you will. You know what I mean? So we're going to get into this, man. She is from Houston. Let her tell it. She's the baddest bitch since Beyonce out of Houston. Ain't that what you told me?
No,
Did I say it wrong?
It's Beyonce, and then it's me from the South Side.
From the South Side. Okay, go ahead. You say what?
It's just us.
It's just you. Oh yeah, it's just y'all two. Yeah. So it's Beyonce then you. For as baddest bitches to come out the South Side. Angie Williams, what's going on? How you doing?
Hey.
What's the word?
Nothing much.
New book out?
Excited.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Vegas Concierge. It's sex trafficking. Can I put this up? Sex trafficking, hip hop, and corruption in America. The title basically describes the book.
That's all you got?
No, I mean ask me.
This book is sold out right now.
Yeah, I'm humble.
Everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your
Thrifty books, yeah, it's sold out.
It's sold out. So there's obviously some stuff in this book that people want to know about.
Yeah, it's dope. It's a story put together by Brian Joseph and myself and another guy, Don Hoyer, are the protagonists in the story. And we tell a story of domestic sex trafficking in America. Mm-hmm. And I just so happen to be the subject of the book. And here I am.
Here you are, yeah. So, I mean, you've lived a very, like you said, sex trafficking, all these things, a very interesting life. Associated with hella names. Besides the friendship with Pimp C, you know what I mean? But like when you talk about the sex trafficking thing, you talk about Molly Mall and like got names that we know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with this climate that we're in right now with what's going on with Diddy and, just the entertainment kind of being turned on its head right now with the sex trafficking thing, talk about how you even got into that lifestyle. Like you're like coming up, what even led you down that path?
I grew up in the South Side of Houston, mm-hmm. and my trafficker came from Kansas City and recruited girls in all the underserved communities in the city, mainly minors. So I was recruited through a high school friend.
But when you say recruited, because I want to talk about this in the most layman's terms, so people that have no idea.
I was knocked.
Yeah, so you just went even more deeper. Like, nobody knocked. What are you talking about?
I'm like, you want to hear the slang version?
No, I'm talking about like in the most. So how do you even get to that? So you're hanging out with your friend in the book. It was said your friend would have you hang out with her.
Yeah,
unbeknownst to you, which happened to be she was working at a brothel, and in between whatever she was doing, y'all would kick it.
We just didn't have shit. We didn't have nothing. So we were coerced through money and trinkets, gifts, distractions, drugs.
You didn't immediately get into it. It was literally.
I was groomed into it.
Yeah.
I was desensitized, by just hanging around,
Do you think
smoking blunts with them.
Do you think your friend recruited you to that space, or do you think that's just all she had and that's just where you had to be?
She was sorry to interrupt. She was sent to recruit me and anyone else she knew. And when I was recruited in, I was trained to do the same thing.
Did you know that what was going on at the time, or you just thought
I didn't
like you
know.
just
I
hanging
had
out
no
with
idea. I grew up in the hood, so I knew there was something racy going on, more than lap dances, more possibly than hand jobs, but I didn't really put it together. The girls were in lingerie and they clearly weren't modeling.
But this was your first brothel experience, though.
Yeah.
And so
17.
17 years old, you graduated high school early. You had been dancing. And
I didn't dance till I was 18.
Till you're 18. So when your friend comes to this brothel thing, you hadn't danced yet.
No. I was just...
But you on a party scene
I
and
was
kind of
hanging
just
out
doing
there.
it. Yeah.
So I started working when I was 18.
You started working at the brothel when you were 18? So how long between you actually first going there and you turning 18? Like, how much time is that?
Like a summer and a fall.
It's about 6 months or something like that. No shit. So 6 months you get groomed into this thing. And then how do you know, like, okay, now I'm in the game now? Like,
you just get pushed into it. You get pushed into it. And at that point, when somebody like a trafficker would invest that much time, they would be intimidating to turn violent if you kind of didn't go along.
So when you say that time, was the guy like being kind of cool and you just getting to know him to kind of trust him type thing, and then he flipped on you, or like what's the?
I mean, in time, if you're like they get you so like chained, invisible chains, like so manipulated to where you feel like they're your family or they're a need, like or a codependency, and once you get to that point, it's easy for them to just flip it on you.
But I'm saying, take me through that's in general, but I'm saying your particular experience, like your first time going through this thing, like take me through that.
I was groomed and desensitized, so I was in and out of the brothel, hanging out, smoking weed, getting away. My trafficker would give me money, like cash, $200.
For no work though, you just hanging out and you just hear some money just.
But everybody else was working around me. They knew I was going to eventually work. And
Are you thinking this guy's just being nice to me, or you realize?
I was slowly figuring it out. Like, and he wasn't trying to be anyone's boyfriend. He was more like
manager.
A manager, yeah. So and he had 10 other brothels. So eventually I just got groomed into it and pushed into it. And it was something normal. At that point, it was like, oh, well, I'm helping her out. Oh, well, now I'm doing it for myself. And I guess I'm paying dude.
And it's a brothel. It's not like, it was like a cool for the sake of cool, I guess. You know what I mean? If you're going
it's
into
not
that life.
Cool.
Not cool, like, but I mean, you're not on the street. So, I mean, talk about that whole thing, like like what it was and how.
A brothel is an indoor track. So,
but this was a nice spot, though. You described it as a nice spot, though, right?
Well, yeah, I described it as something appealing to a sex buyer. So it was themed and furnished well to cater to a certain level of buyers. And that's just it. It was like an indoor track. The level of danger is no different from any level of prostitution. Prostitution is a crime against women, and the level of risk that anyone takes, whether they're jumping in and out of a car, knocking on a door, or having someone come to them, the level of risk is the same. Buyers eventually become aggressive, eventually rape. And when that happens, if they go to jail, they come out, they don't get any sexual deviant training or therapy. They're coming out as a violent buyer. They're going to go right back to tricking, and they're going to become a violent buyer because of the resentment and aggression of how deep they're involved in that underworld.
And so once you got down with this guy, though, but you eventually left that place, though.
Well,
Like I was reading the book and I was trying to figure out like how long were you actually there, because you just went to the club and figured out you could like
I wasn't
hustle
there
and do.
too long because like I was getting used to being at the club, like, and at that point I knew I would never return back to dude. And I don't know, I was young and I had the whole world in front of me. I thought I was just trying to find my way. And it was taken. Eventually, like I guess once you're trafficked, if you don't get any type of help, you'll probably be re-trafficked or re-exploited or in and out of that life. They say like so many times, different statistics, 6, 7, 8 times before you actually exit that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But so I got out and I thought that sex work or stripping was liberating and I was keeping my own money, but it just left me subjectable to the next pimp.
What you mean?
Being in that environment, especially in Houston, strip clubs, pimps all day long.
So talk about that culture in Houston, like.
It's a toxic subculture. It spreads seeds of negativity into young men and women that could be doing something better with their life. I know there's, the nightlife, the party atmosphere, and there's certain things that I can't change, but if they could do it better and take the trafficking out of it, it would be a better place in there. And there would be less women being exploited. Because girls go into the strip club thinking that they're going to be a dancer, and within 6 months in Houston, because everybody around is making it normal, it's desensitizing that stripper, and eventually she's going to choose up also. Or be knocked by force.
Right. But at this time, you're in a strip club, you're trying to hustle all this, you end up catching a little case. Is that what led you back to this other guy, this Dallas guy, whatever, where you kind of felt like, man, I just need to get some money and like...
Yeah, I was broke. And I just thought like, oh, well, my turnout was, rich. So maybe all pimps, are protective and rich and provide, a broader level of exploitation. And I had, a rude awakening to the game and the lifestyle.
Even though this rich man, like you said in the book, the man was buying y'all polo towels from Ross and you wanted Versace or something like that and he didn't want to spend it.
Yeah. Thanks for calling me out. I was like trying to do the math in my head. Like, wait a minute. I made the money for the Versace towels yesterday and you said I could get whatever I want. So Ralph Lauren towels is not whatever I want, and it's not the Versace towels. So, yeah. I had to leave. The math didn't add up.
The math
and in most situations, you're being brainwashed and manipulated and flooded bullshit every day to where you can't sit down and do the math and realize like, hey, I get the shit end of the bargain in this, and I'm getting got over. Or I got sold a wolf ticket.
Right. So you meet this guy Dallas. How do you meet the guy Dallas?
I met Dallas in my friend's apartment. And he was like with the Gators. It was really embarrassing.
He's looking like a pimp, basically.
I'm like, I hate that you bring him up. No,
you got to bring this guy up in your story because he's
the one that was the Taken story. He was the Taken part of the story. And some people say, oh, it's not likely for, Taken, like the movie Taken, situations to actually happen. And they do, because I was knocked and moved. I was literally kidnapped, about to be taken to the track in DC and rerouted whenever I was defiant and kidnapped and trafficked straight to Vegas.
But before that, how do you even meet this guy? He's got on Gators. What is he saying to you?
He had a Cadillac and he had on Gators. I was from the
whole
hood.
Pimp starter kid.
I had no standards and I didn't know what money was.
All this old country ass shit.
Yeah, I didn't know what money was. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe he has money like, my turnout and he can help me get out of this financial rut that I was in. And like disappointed in myself today that I was even that low or thought that low of myself to where I had to go back to something I knew wasn't good. But I'm at Dallas and he was just instantly ready to.
Is he talking to Pimp Talk? Like, how does he?
He was listening to Sugar Free.
Oh, yeah.
And like the whole album, Just Add Water.
Street Gospel? Oh, Just Add Water? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
so that's some pimping. That's, yeah.
And he, like, I didn't know the world. I didn't know the game. I didn't know the world.
Mm-hmm. He said in the book, though, that he was playing that, trying to school you, like, out of pocket.
This is the subculture. This is, like, how to be in pocket or look to the ground or whatever, all of that. I mean, there's a whole set of bullshit rules.
Is he being aggressive when he tell you this, or he's just, like, gaming you? Like, hey,
well, look, he didn't get aggressive until I wanted to leave him. Mm-hmm. And I got tricked. They had, like, all these, like, tactics set to control the women and be alerted. So he said, if you ever want to leave me, sit me down and tell me that you want to leave me.
But when y'all leave Houston, y'all are supposed to be headed where?
To DC. He said
unbeknownst to you, though.
No, I knew it was DC. He said it was a road trip and we were going to get money out there. I was thinking maybe high-end escorting. And the girls were like, no, we're going to be on the blade, on the track in DC. And
that terrified you?
It terrified me, yeah. But what happened next terrorized me.
So you find out, okay, y'all supposed to be going to DC. You don't want to go to DC.
So we turn around and head to Louisville, Texas. And I was beaten.
But the car broke down, right? That's why y'all turned around?
in Steele, Alabama. Yeah. The car broke down.
The Cadillac that you were so impressed with.
I know, I was so impressed by that Cadillac. And it was
it rimmed up or something? What made it?
I don't know. I was just like, he's got all the answers. I didn't know anything about the world. You gotta laugh at yourself.
It's cool. It's cool.
I didn't know anything about that world. It's so embarrassing. That's why I said I hate you brought that guy up. But I mean,
you can't not bring him up in your story.
Honesty breeds a clarity, and it's in the book. But I'd skip past those pages. He was a piece of shit. And
how old was this guy?
She's like 30 to 33. I forget.
So at least 10 years older than you.
Yeah, he was older than me for sure.
Boom. Okay, so the car breaks down. Now this is when all the bullshit kicks up. Could you tell him again, hey,
I just want to go home. He was like, you're not going home.
Because he told you, if you ever want to leave.
Just tell me you want to leave. And he was like, nope, you're not going home.
But that was the trick. That was basically that was his alert. Basically, like, once you tell me that, you just let me know what your plans are.
Yeah. And then,
it wasn't as easy as he said it was going to be.
Yeah, it was not as easy. It was a pretty traumatic time. But I made my way to Vegas.
Yeah, but he made you ride in the trunk, though.
In the trunk, yep.
Yeah, from Texas to
Louisville.
Yeah.
From Alabama to Louisville.
Yeah.
And then Louisville to Vegas.
And he rode the trunk the whole time.
Yep. I mean, he would.
And he said he pulled over, but when he pulled over, he talking crazy to you and slamming the trunk and going on.
Yeah.
Are you fearing for your life at this time, or what are you thinking? Like,
I mean, no, not really. I thought he was corny, and I thought that he was dangerous, but I thought that he did everything that he wanted to do when he was beating me into submission in Louisville. And
okay, you skipped that part.
Yeah.
So when you tell him that, that's when he gives you this beating, and
yeah, he beat me for days with pots, pans, wire hangers. I had marks all over myself, and it was pretty shameful. But I just had to figure out, like, okay, how can I get this person to stop doing this?
Where the other girls at when this was going on?
He never had any other girls. He lied.
Oh, you were the only one.
Yeah, he
Wait, but who said that y'all were going to the track then? Who told you said we going to the track instead of
Other
going?
pimps and hoes.
Oh, it was a group trip.
I guess so. Like back in the day on Hillcroft, like the cross country pimps had like a network, a wire, and they would like travel together in packs.
So this was one of those trips.
Yeah. So I met a girl in the bathroom
And she tells you, "Hey, we're going."
Yeah, but I guess I shouldn't have been talking to her, so I got in trouble for that too.
Did she have plans to leave, or she was just like, "Nah, we're not going to do what you think we're doing. We finna go to the track."
No, she was a track worker, like a track star.
So she's like, "Get ready for the big leagues, baby."
Yeah.
We going.
Yeah.
So you get away from this. You get to Vegas. So we're talking about Vegas concierge. This is your introduction to Vegas. Talk about that.
I got to Vegas. Dallas took me to the Motel 6 on Tropicana. And and I was thrown with the wolves. It was like more than cactuses in casinos. Got put right on Las Vegas Boulevard and told to walk from one end of the strip, casino to casino, all the way around to the other end of the strip and back.
And so, what is your job to just recruit at this time? You're just trying to get some money.
No, he said I had to come back with $1,000. So, I was just instructed to solicit the patrons on the strip and take them in the casino. So it wasn't like I pictured, because I was already like groomed into sex work and groomed into that world to where that was my life, and I had no problem with it at that time. And I pictured Vegas being like Ginger and Casino, and just glamorous, or like just full of lights and like fun, happy people on vacation and people spending money left and right. And it was just
That's not the side he's showing you. Yeah.
It was such a different underworld. Like, it's more like Sin City, like the comic movie, like just full of chaos and like crimes going around everywhere. You see someone's pocket getting picked. You see girls, peeling a tourist at the ATM. Then you see a pimp slapping a hoe. And you might see a family, stroll through the middle. And then the police come and everybody scatter. The card counters, the degenerate gamblers that just sit at the ATM, at the slot machines, riding on $100 bills for the whole day. It's so much going on, and you like just thrown out there. And hey, go get it, figure it out. And it's a world like no other. Like, everything is tip, recoup, pay the toll to cross the bridge.
So in the book, it was saying that you actually did meet a guy though, and he ended up giving you what, like $800 or something. Just you felt like just for sympathy almost, or something like.
Well, I think initially he thought I was going to be into him, and whenever I wasn't, he was just paying me to leave.
So you get the $800. Where you get the rest of the 200? Because you asked for 1,000, or did you bring him back 800?
No, I'm pretty sure I was feared into making my quota. I don't remember the next one, but
you found it, and
yeah, I found it.
So is that the thing, like $1,000 every day, or like
every day?
And so how long is it taking you to do this?
Sometimes you have to stay out till the next day.
Jesus Christ. So what are you thinking at this time? Are you just like, man, I'm in the game, or like let me just keep this guy off my ass? Like,
yeah, like, is this a test? Does it get better? Like, I see all this stuff that they coerced me with, girls that had way more than me, experienced girls that, looked different. And, you just think like, oh, does it get better? But there's a price to pay with everything that you gain from that life, and it's all taking a piece of your soul.
What would you say you gained from that in that time period?
Nothing but temporary assets or material gains.
No money though, just things.
No investments, no money.
And so how do you
It's like being on American Greed. Like, and you watch American Greed and you see those people, like, how the heck did they get swindled out of their whole retirement or out of their whole life earning? Like, how did somebody so independent or so smart, like, how there's no answer. It just happens. Somebody catches somebody at the right time, at the right moment, and able to coerce them into a lifestyle that's cult-like.
So tell me, how long were you under this guy before you were able to get away from him?
Who, Dallas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. As soon as I had to get away from the vicious beating he gave me, I planned to just, make my way to wherever I got too safe to where I could bolt it. So I was already ready to make my move as soon as it was logical for me. As soon as I could stash a little change or bump into somebody that might help me better than, or be like a less dangerous situation than him, I would have been willing to do whatever.
Right, but at that point, I mean, you locked in to their life. At that point, like you said, you're willing to do whatever. So
yeah,
it's whatever. So then, what happens after that? Could you leave that? Is that the one where you went and called? It was like some women or something was running something. You thought that was gonna be cool.
Yeah, I ended up calling Molly's still to this day, like Ghislaine Maxwell, or business assistant. And I didn't know that she was his business assistant. She just answered the phone like a happy telemarketer or secretary. And then she was so manipulative. She was like matching the way I talk. And like even down to my vocabulary. Like, so she could be someone that I'm relatable to. Like her tactics of getting over were like precise.
Damn. So the finesse game even started on the phone. So you call her, and what is she setting you up with?
An escort service that was supposed to be female owned and operated.
But it wasn't.
No.
And so is this when she sends you? Okay, just take me through this whole thing. How do you eventually get to Molly then? How do you find out like, oh, this isn't what this is advertised as?
Well, I wasn't down to wait because the whole situation it had too many layers and it was awkward and it was too much for me coming from the hood to digest. Like, whoa, like,
Layers
am I going to die in this mansion? Like, where's the pimp? Like, what's going on? So it was just too much for me. And I mean, it was extravagant.
So once you connect with her, y'all go to this mansion. That's the next place.
Yeah, we went to his house, but he wasn't in town. So I dodged him for a couple weeks and circled back.
And then how do you meet him? What's your whole introduction and like impression of like him, and what is he telling you to like kind of lure you into this lifestyle now?
Well, I already knew that he had a plethora of women. Like, they looked like, Playboy bunnies, like really like pretty model-esque women. Back in Vegas, a mansion, condos, and a fleet of cars back home. But he was out of town in Japan and had flown back to LA, and I was meeting him at his condo in Westwood Village. There I ran into an Interscope executive that was his roommate at the time, Sean Tubby Holiday. And he was having like some sexual activities going on in the living room when I walked in. So I like freaked out, stepped back, and ended up calling him. And he was like, well, just go into my place and I'll be home. I'll be there tomorrow. But just go in, and the room is straight to the right. So I went, sorry. So the room is straight to the right. And I waited. I met him. And well, first he had me bring his jewelry from his safe to a Rolls Royce downstairs. And everything was just so like impressionable. And then he came back to his place and was just, I mean, he looks like someone from Hollywood. I didn't realize at the time, like he had pectoral implants and like a bunch of Botox and stuff like way back in the day. But that explains why he looked like something from Hollywood. Like to me, I don't know. You know, I wasn't exposed to much. I hadn't seen much. So I was like, oh, wow. And he was rich and he offered everything in the world and played on my vulnerabilities. And it went from there.
So what year is this when you connect with him?
2006, I think.
2006. So what are the things that he's put, like work-wise, what does that look like with Molly?
I would work 16-hour or more shifts a day. And I would service clients for his escort service.
So this situation is him sending you to like appointments type thing.
Well, he had an office. He had a full-fledged office in Vegas. Probably still does, and probably, but it had a full staff of like phone operators, like sexy voice operators that would book the appointments, and a manager that would collect all of our money. And we had drivers, chauffeurs, and we would get driven to high-end clients across the strip and entertain guys for anywhere from $1,500 to $3,600 and up per hour. And people with that much money tend to spend like large amounts of time. So we were like enduring more trauma than a girl that walks the track. That is in and out the car with a guy for 15 minutes. And it doesn't matter where this guy comes from or how much money they spend. They're all taking the same risk.
So, okay, you talking about 16-hour days. This is 7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Jesus Christ. So are you getting money in this situation? Or is it still like a trinket? Like we'll just
sometimes. But if I feel like if there was always a priority fee, like it would go from 70-30 or 100% if you're priority. So if you were taking 30% of your money, I guarantee you the phone operators are asking for a tip. The drivers are asking for a tip. You're paying your own food, your own like utilities or something. Like they'll milk the 30% back. But it would be 70-30 or 100% drop to be priority.
To be priority? What is priority?
Like one of Molly's girls.
But you're going to be one of his girls to give 100% up?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what about the ones that ain't priority? They the ones keep a little bit more money then. But they may not work as much.
But they don't. Yeah, the priority girls get the better clients or the more paying clients, or the girls that aren't priority get recycled clients.
So who are like, because you said this is Hollywood now, this is a different level of clientele. Like, are there certain people that you're kind of linking up with where you're like, man, I can't believe I just whatever? Or
I mean, all across the country, yes. His service was all across the country. So I was going from city to city. And as far as the clients, they're all the same.
What do you mean?
The trick on the track, the sugar daddy on OnlyFans, or the seeking arrangements apps and stuff, they're all the same. The guy that goes to the strip club, the guys that fly abroad out, they're all the same.
In the same in what manner? What do you mean?
meaning they're all the same. They're all the same amount of dangerous, the same amount of deviant. There's nothing different.
So 2006, you're doing this thing with Molly. When does the Pimp C thing happen? Because it's not long after that, can't be.
Yeah, Chad hated Molly.
But how long had you been in business with Molly before you met Pimp?
Not too long. It was all in the same time. It was happening in the same time. So the irony is they had already met up and he didn't like him. And when he realized that he was exploiting me, he didn't like him even more. He had a reason to not like him more. And he always took up for me. He was always protective of me and always, kept my privacy and my secrets because I wasn't exposing the depth of how deep in the game I was. But he understood when I told him the guy who was my trafficker. And, yeah.
So, okay, the whole thing of how you even met Pimp C, like run that whole thing down of how y'all even connected.
I was in LA and I was going up to see a client, a buyer. The story I put in Julia Beverly's book and Pimp C's Trail Life story. But I went, to the elevators at the Mondrian. And I was being yelled at. And I thought I was being yelled at by a pimp. So I was trying to be in pocket. And I think he knew because I was kind of like obvious in pocket. And in the game, like if you're that obvious in pocket, you're out of pocket because he still yelled at me. And he was like, say bitch, like I'm not a pimp. Like I'm a rapper. I pimp the rap game. And he was trying to get my attention. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go and talk to him. But I have to go up. I just got the info and you have 15 minutes to check in on the call and collect the money. So I had to make the intro quick and do it moving. When I came down, he was still there. It wasn't too long. Maybe just a few minutes.
This is why I can't even imagine the shit you've experienced, like just like on the job, quote unquote. Like I can't even imagine it.
It's horrific. It's horrific.
How did you make it through that stuff though?
It's like being in a time capsule or in a vortex. And when you actually, or if you are lucky and blessed enough to get a second chance or enter the real world, it's like your life is like trembling from having years in the vortex or the time capsule. It's hard to explain. But it's what people in the military go through and people in cults go through. Like once a certain like trauma triggers you, it can alter the rest of your life if you don't get a hold of your mental health.
So you meet Pimp, y'all end up hitting it off though. Like how do y'all end up hitting it off the way
Chad
y'all
was the shit. He was just the shit. He was the shit. Chad was everything. And he just had a charismatic, uplifting, like even if I was down and out and doing something risky, out of pocket, insecure, looking down, he's going to make me look up. He's going to make me put my chin up, my tits out, and speak from the heart. And that's the only way you can communicate with him. So it was just that from day one. And we talked and we talked and talked and talked and talked and talked and continued talking. And every time we linked up, we would talk to the crack of dawn. Like just about everything you could think of.
But y'all was so close. You wanted him to like get you out of the game, but he was
I thought he could be my pimp. And at that time I was choosing up and choosing up. They call it Susie Choosy. And I just didn't know. I still could never find my way because it wasn't meant for me. And I thought I could choose up with him. And he said, bring me 10,000 And I worked so hard to save up the 10,000 and took it right to him, and he just laughed at me. And I think he was just like, just curious about the world and the lifestyle. But
Like you really went and got this 10,000 type shit.
but
Like
that was probably one of the first times that a man showed me what a man was like, because he handed me the money back and told me that he didn't want me doing that, and I could do better for myself, and he would never take my money. And that showed me what a man was, and how a man treats a person that they care about.
that was the first time right there with Pimp.
Yeah.
Wow. So talk about the Game Belongs to Me video.
That was interesting. I mean, I was off and on with Molly. I can't remember.
How do you go off and on in that business? Like I thought it was like a thing of like.
Well, him and I didn't have a sexual relationship, and he knew that I knew people in the streets, so he's quite intimidated by that. And he had spoke with Chad at some event, some dinner they had, and he didn't like him, so he was just kind of like I always just had like a different like relationship with him. It was more business. So if I just like bucked and said, hey, this isn't, evening out for me, or it's not working out for me, then he would let me go. But he knew that he had so many chains to me that I would end up coming back. And eventually I just prayed and asked God to not ever let me be so desperate to need him or be codependent on him again. Freed myself from him. And
Wait, we didn't talk about the video though. Are we getting to that?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm all over the place. The video, yeah. So the video was the video. That was in Julia's book.
Mm-hmm.
The video was...
Because you ended up being the main, like, leading girl in the video, basically.
Well, it was a special thing, I guess. It was supposed to be a special thing. I don't know. He was so funny. He was like, I need you to come to Houston because I want to make you a video star. And I was like, okay, but that's not what I want to do, but I'll come out and I'll be in your video. And he was like, yeah, I want you to come and be in this video for me. And I had bought my own wardrobe and got my own makeup done and went to the trailer, and the girls were being super rude and bullies, and asked if if Pimp C was my pimp. And
so they reading you like, oh, there's some girl off the street. They done brought her in here or whatever.
Yeah, mind your business. That's not your business. And like, you can't do nothing for me, so why are you asking? And the girl, I don't know. I don't know if Chad was mad at them or one of them and singled them all out, but he was like just saying that he was just going to leave them in the trailer and fire them all.
And that's what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah, he just fired them all.
What do you remember about that? Because in the book they was talking about how late, like, yeah,
we didn't show up till like 3-4 in the morning, maybe 5.
Yeah, but this video she was supposed to be like 7 8.
We were literally doing nothing. We were doing nothing. We were eating freaking fruit, and I was drinking, and he wasn't.
Like, just sitting there, just on pimp time.
Yes, doing nothing. And I didn't know he was up to something, but it was clearly a statement that he was making. But
that's what's up. Do you remember the last time you talked to him?
The last time I talked to him was when I was in jail. And that was so long ago. It was right before he passed. And I knew I was going to prison, but he had prepared me because he had spent some time in TDC and told me all his prison stories from start to finish. So he prepared me. Like, I kind of like could close my eyes and know what to expect. But I expected to ride out my time with him. And I called him and he didn't answer. They were playing his music on 97.9 on the little silver gel speakers that they have in the pods. And that's my only memory. And I didn't cry. I just suppressed and held it in because I was like, I'm in jail and I don't want anybody to see me cry. And it was just like mind over matter until I got out because I only did 13 months. Mm-hmm. So when I got out, I was able to grieve him.
But you had established relationships with his mom and, kids and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, his mom's a gem.
Yeah. So what did you end up going to jail for?
Possession with intent to distribute.
So did you start trying to hustle after you were like, man, I'm gonna get away from Molly Mall. I'm gonna just do this, or like, what is?
No. I had a charge that I went to jail for whenever I was super young, and when I was recruited by Molly, he told me not to come back and check into my PO. He said he had a dream team of attorneys, and they would get me out of any trouble. And basically from that point on, I was on the run. And that was another reason why he was able to kind of keep me around, because he knew my secret.
When you live on the run, your protection, whatever.
Yeah, when you live on the run, you can't just tell everybody you live on the run. So I was living like a double oppressed life. Mm-hmm. Being on the run from a felony and being at the hands of a pimp.
So how'd they end up catching you though?
One of his assistants set me up with the police in Chicago on a prostitution raid.
Wait, what? I don't think you had ever told me this. This is some wild ass shit.
Yeah, one of his assistants was mad, and she set me up on a prostitution sting in Chicago. So the unders came, like a white man came and got down to his underwear and was like, I'm the police. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to prison. And like the end.
Get the fuck out of here. Wow. So, damn. What was her reasoning for wanting to do that to you though?
I don't know. She was a crazy person. She was a very controlling, crazy person.
Damn. Okay, so what happens when you get out?
When I got out, I went right back to him because that was all I knew.
You went back to Molly? Mm-hmm. After he set you up, basically?
Yeah. I was so programmed to being his. That's all I knew. So I went right back.
So how was it when you went back? Was it better or worse than last time, than the original time?
It was just the same. And I think it was triggering because I think prison gave me a time to breathe. So it was triggering. And I ended up blowing up for good. Like leaving for good.
What does that look like? Like leaving Molly Wild?
Well, at this point I was like a little smarter. So I would stash money and I asked him to give me money to go back home for Christmas. I just got out of prison. And he's Muslim and he said no. And I was able to fight like the fact that I just did all this time. I wanted to go home for Christmas. So he gave me $8,000 and I went away and he knew I wasn't coming back. So they called me 77 times on Christmas. And when I would answer, they would just laugh like a scary movie doll, like a creepy laugh. And over and over and over. Like I would have to like hang up.
Sounds crazy. Okay, so you go home, you got $8,000, you got the little money you saved up as well. What are we doing? How do you end up getting back into that?
I was independent for a while. So I think even though I was independent and even though I was making a shit ton of money and living the high life.
Are you independent still doing sex work or are you independent?
Doing sex work, yes. I was working at strip clubs, doing sex work. And then I went to New York City and worked for escort services and still worked for Molly, but I wasn't his girl anymore.
So how does that work? What do you mean you work for him, but you're not his girl?
He just made a 50-50 deal.
Oh, you were that cold? He had to keep you. He had to keep you. Or was it you saying,
I think it was both. I think I was codependent, and I think he wanted the control still.
But then you end up getting with this guy who becomes your boyfriend, though.
The boyfriend pimp.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was treacherous.
How do you get into that situation?
Um,
Because this is different now. Now you say like you and Molly didn't have a sexual relationship, but this is a boyfriend. Now y'all gonna do the relationship thing, but still go for the business aspect as well.
I mean, it was more hurt. It was more hurtful in a damaging way, where Molly was more hurtful in a pride or financial, aspect, like, oh, the money loss. Because he had the financial control, more so over me, and this guy had more of a sexual and mental control over me. So it was just a different level. I mean, it's kind of like once you expose yourself to one thing in regards to trafficking, you're subjectable to experiencing,
Everything
that comes with the underworld.
So how does, because I've known about these things, but like how do you go into a relationship and say this is my boyfriend, it's my girlfriend, but you're still doing your thing, and it's like that's still my boyfriend, it's still my girlfriend.
Well, no, he came to me and he was a boyfriend pimp because he was more personal, intimate, and romantic. But he came to me as a pimp. His dad was Kenny Red.
Kenny Red, yeah.
And
it's fucked up to say it, but legendary pimp.
Yeah, he was a well-known pimp in this decades-long popular documentary, American Pimp.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of his siblings were pimps or in the game in some way. So Tyree was, one of them. So I just looked at him as I looked at myself. Like, we were equal. We both didn't have a chance. We were both thrown in and put in a world by force, by society. They failed us. It wasn't Dallas. It wasn't my turnout. It was society. And I looked at him as we are just looking for something better. So let me give him a chance because we want to get out the game, or we have these like urges to find our way out, so we could find our way out together.
What does this sell to you though? Like, what is he saying to you that's like enticing you?
That he wants to get out of the lifestyle, and he would do more human activities with the money I made and enjoy life more, instead of where Molly was us just being a cash cow to him and his life in the music industry. This was more of a personal family setting. So it was a deeper letdown.
And so talk about like how y'all even led up to that particular that situation.
The situation.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, shit. My ex was.
Did y'all have a history of these things, and this
No,
one just got out of hand?
ex was like, not. He was just trying to find his own way, and he had daddy issues from his father being a sex trafficker, a pimp. He had these voids where he always felt the need to get his father's acceptance and love. And in that sense, he levied more towards his pimp side than his boyfriend side. And eventually things got aggressive, but it was maybe a pattern of like every 6 to 9 months. And then it's like that cycle of abuse where it gets closer and closer. And that's when I was like, no, not into abusive relationships. It's not my thing. Rather be with Molly than get beat
So
up.
Molly's thing didn't include abuse. It was just he just held the money.
He was never abusive. He was just very manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
And he, he used a lot of like coercion and selling dreams. So this guy was just a pimp, but he was horrible. And when I wanted to leave him, he beat me nearly to death. I'm lucky to be alive. And that kind of was my like aha moment or eye opener of like, if I don't quit my shit or if I don't change my ways and my morals, then God's going to take my life next time.
Mm.
I might have a chance now, but there's no way. I'm pretty fearless, but I definitely fear God. So I just started, it was like a switch. Like, okay, I got to get my shit together. Really get my shit together. Really find out my identity through Christ. Really find out what were the rooted problems that led me to be so corny to be involved in this. I have to really heal myself. And if it wasn't for that experience, I would still be in the streets today.
What is your family saying about all this stuff, though?
At first, they didn't understand. I don't know if they didn't. I don't know if they thought I was just being like voiceful or liberating or like venting on social, and they didn't understand how serious I was going to get in my advocacy. But I knew. I seen it. I met with a Hollywood producer when I had cast on my arms. He flew me out and took me to dinner. And
because this particular incident resulted in what, like injury wise, like for you?
I mean, it was like one of the worst violent cases in Las Vegas. And
you said violent kiss? Is that
cases?
Oh, cases. Okay.
Yeah, because the police picked up an attempted murder charge from the hospital bed because I was pretty messed up. But I had a fractured skull, a broken arm, broken hand. I can't extend my left hand anymore. Almost broke my leg. I mean, I was just pretty beat. I was beat all over with a metal pipe. And
how long do you know how long that took place?
I mean, long enough to cover every inch of my body. Yeah, I was pretty brutalized.
Was he possessed at this time, or like I don't understand like how people get to that level of rage to where like
no Stockholm. I don't think that he was possessed, but I do believe he was under controlled substance, steroids.
Oh, he had the roid rage.
I think so. I think that plus he was a piece of shit, but for the most part, I think.
Was he taking steroids though?
Because he was like a gym rat, like athlete.
God damn it. So, okay. Get away from that. Now, this is some wild times. Have you ever had any experiences on this with like, because I mean, Diddy, it's a gang of people that have gone down for these things. Have you had experiences with any of these people that have had like these public cases with these types of things, like sex involved?
I mean, yeah, once people are out there like that, they're out there like that. There's very few occasions where a person can actually say, oh, it was my first time, or the girl tricked me into it. Like, if they're tricking and buying, they're buying and tricking. They're buyers. Like, they're probably doing it all over the map if they have the money to. And the women are just disposable products to them, no matter what level you're in. But
is this more common though? Because it's like they're saying, like, you know, with somebody like Diddy, you wouldn't expect him to be into those types of things like that.
Back in the day, I mean, like, you would hear like, well, I know, just me being in Houston, like the bottle service girls or the girls from Dreams, like in the beginning, like getting flown out, like, so then okay, well, she's really attractive, she's getting flown out. But then it's a pattern. Like, okay, this certain basketball player flies out all the time. Like,
So
and then it's such a pattern
that becomes a sex trafficking thing.
I mean, there's, an act, a mean, and a purpose, and there's force, fraud, and coercion. You're preying on a girl for her, financial gain. You're preying on her vulnerabilities because she might want to be a singer, because you know that the mansions and the cars and the jewelry is going to distract her, and your presence and who you are, your status in society is going to desensitize her, and you know that you're going to have a whole script or a whole routine of how you catch your broads and take them, to do personal things with them. Like, it's just not necessary to fly out and pay or take shopping. That's when it becomes trafficking.
Damn. Flying out, paying, that's your trafficking right there once you do that.
Yeah, once you do it.
Wow.
You are transporting a person for immoral purposes. You are transporting an individual, a human, somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, across state lines to engage in
Sexual activity,
prostitution. If she's getting laid and there's any type of promise or gain, it's prostitution. If the shoe fits, wear it.
Boy, that's gonna hurt some feelings. That's a tough one. That happens all the time. I mean, there's a lot of women who will sleep with guys for the sake of, oh, well, he's gonna buy me a bag, or it's gonna be this, or whatever, and not even realizing, like, you selling yourself, really.
Yeah. It's insane. But yeah, and in regards to Diddy, there have been, I mean, even Pimp made, Diddy jokes. And
he would when y'all were talking shit?
Well, no, you've seen them.
Oh, yeah.
The reels and stuff on Instagram. Like, even the subliminals about Diddy have been going on so long that even if you didn't have a Diddy experience, you know about a Diddy experience. And I have, personal friends that worked as sound engineers in the studio with him when he was making the band, and him, and the other super producer on the show were violating a 16-year-old intern. And the other super producer recruited her to his studio to then just be there for sexual favors, a 16-year-old intern. So there are girls entering the music industry with the wrong people, and they think that they're trying to find their way. And these entitled producers that are supplying women to tricks or themselves are exploiting them. Have no intention on any concerns about their goals in their career.
That is crazy. You're a mom now. When you were going through this whole thing, did you have aspirations of being a mom one day, or did you didn't even see it that far?
I never seen life that far. I was in the streets and trouble followed me.
Straight survival mode.
Mm-hmm. Whatever I can do to get by.
Angie. But what's next? We got Vegas Concierge. Y'all gonna have to some backwater pre-ordered, or what? I mean, I guess past pre-orders out now, but backwater and all that. What else you got going on? Are y'all gonna do any like visual things with this?
What do you mean?
Like some visual piece to it? Like, is there some type of documentary surrounding it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was able to work on this book project. I got, deep with Brian, and we got a literary agent and a book to film agent. So our film agent is pretty big. Mm-hmm. He is pretty big. I woke up and I was so impressed. I was like, you know what? I'm proud of where I came from, and I don't know what. Thank you, God, but yeah, it's good.
That's what's up. Well, I'm happy to see how far this thing goes. I'm excited for you. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else? Like, you could ask anything.
No, I mean, I don't know. You would have to tell me. You the one with all the secrets.
Yeah. Do you edit this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, if you want to talk more about trafficking.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So, ask away because I'm better at answering.
I mean, with trafficking, what is it that you
You
want?
could talk more about Diddy or other things in regards to that. I'll talk about clients. I just wanted to mention that they're all the same.
All the same in what sense? What do you mean? I mean,
Well,
they
no.
are there for one thing,
Like,
of course.
I know,
But
like, the names are fine, but there's no different from the trick. There's no difference from the trick on the street to the music mogul or, whatever. But there's,
what's the wildest thing you've had to witness within that time frame, like with a trick or a client or whatever you call it?
wildest, like what?
Like, what's your wildest like experience with like a trick or a client or something like that? He was like, man, this is the craziest shit, or I'll never forget, this guy or whatever.
I think it's just it was towards the end, towards my later days in the game, because I never paid attention from one client to the next. All my money was going to a pimp. So within my trauma and how I process things, I just don't remember none of that. But like the later days, I remember when I was trying to get out, when I had cast on my arm and guys were still paying rack rate.
Wait, you still working like that?
Yeah.
Under who though? For yourself?
Independently. I mean, I left the hospital with nothing. So I pawned everything I had and sold everything and worked a little, saved up my money so I could get out of Vegas.
So how long did it take you to do that?
A few weeks.
Oh, no shit. Oh, you was working.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just remember like the guys were just so crazy and they wanted the extreme. Like they would pay tens of thousands of dollars to have baby oil slip and slides.
What?
I mean, that's why, like, there's...
Wait. What are you talking about? Like, you do this and y'all slide around on the floor and shit? What are you talking about?
No, like...
What is a baby oil slip and slide?
To jump off of the bed and slip and slide into the baby oil. Like, individually. Like...
Y'all just in there playing games?
It was like, yeah, like babysitting a crackhead.
So would they be high when they do this crazy ass shit?
But they're corporate executives.
So they high, they mind, and that's what they want to do.
They're people of the, church. From the city that they come from. They are lawyers, doctors, counselors.
Somebody pay all that money to jump on the bed?
Spending their family's money to do crazy, insane things. Sometimes they're, they take so much drugs, you don't know if the guy is going to die. Sometimes
you ever had a close call like that where you're like, man, I don't know if I should get out of here or call somebody?
Yeah, several times. And then you're instructed to give a guy an IV treatment with hopes to...
So you've had to give the IV treatment and all that?
No, call the people.
Oh, okay.
The IV people. Yeah, but...
How many times would you say that happened? Or was it like nothing really like you could quantify?
Quite often.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Vegas is a party city, so a lot of the people were on some drug or another, and some of them weren't the healthiest drugs because they were coming from the street panders. So they were, with things that their body might have been rejecting, but a lot of people were just on drugs, doing crazy, insane stuff.
God, did you ever have to like get high to like kind of take your mind off that shit, or you had figured out a way to like psych yourself out already?
I used a lot of marijuana and like anti-anxiety meds, Xanax,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of like too much.
Too much. What you mean?
It's too much of a world. You have to be sober to pay attention
Or you get
to
taken
everything
advantage
going
of.
on.
Yeah. Damn, Angie.
Yeah, but
What's your favorite time with Pimp that you remember?
my favorite time, I would say us just eating at Cat's Deli and sitting there for hours talking, and him just letting me talk and talk and talk.
That's cool. Well, Angie.
Yeah,
I'm going for a little nap.
it's bedtime.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming through. One more time, Vegas Concierge, available right now. Whoever books are sold, get that right now. That is by, what's my man's name?
Brian Joseph.
Brian Joseph. There you go.
VegasConcierge.com.
What else you got?
That's it.
That's it?
Oh, like what do I have coming up?
Yeah, what else you got? Yeah, come on.
I have 2 more documentaries coming up.
Well, so what are these next 2 documentaries about?
One is about police corruption. It's kind of parallel to Vegas Concierge. And the other documentary is about the equality model. So it's with hopes to get everybody on the same accord and provide more resources to prostitutes and take the focus in the police departments away from the prostitutes, treat them more like victims, and kind of focus more on the sex buyers and ending the demand.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what that doc's. You're like, okay,
Dope.
that's what that doc's about.
Nice.
But it's pretty deep. It's a good one.
That's what's up. Well, Vegas Concierge, available right now. Y'all look out for the next 2 documentaries coming. And Angie, I appreciate you coming through. Goofball, man. It's Donnie Houston Podcast. I'm Donnie Houston. This is Angie. Hey, man, we're about here.
Donnie Houston.
Subscribe to the Donnie Houston Podcast, man.